Good evening and welcome to 365 Days of Amazing Stories with Theo Mayer. Here we are on day 22 of 2025, January 22nd, and I'm continuing the story of what the rose did to the cypress. As you might remember, the prince had spoken with a saintly man who had led him, instructed him on how to go on his journey in order to try to solve this riddle. The saintly man had told him that it was a perilous way to go, had let him know that there might be genies or peris or demons along the way. But the Prince Almas, had decided to go anyway. He could not be persuaded from his task. He wished to do nothing more than find a way to solve this riddle so Mirafruz would stop putting men to death and to avenge his two brothers whose heads were on the battlements. Now he had made his way to the pillar where he was able to read the Sufic characters that were written upon it, leading him off in the direction of the middle road, which was the most perilous of all. This would lead him to Wak of Quaff, which was in the Caucasus. As he made his way, he came to a pavilion. There was a giant there. He tied up his horse, prayed to God, and continued on his way into a garden where there were many deer who were, looking at him and pawing the ground. The deer were attempting to warn him to go back, but he had thought that they were inviting him to come in. A beautiful woman put her head out of a window in the palace that was in the middle of the garden and was taken by the prince's beauty. She sent her nurse out to fetch him. The nurse, too, was taken by the prince's beauty. Now, the maiden was beautiful as well. The nurse brought Prince Almas in and led her to the princess, the maiden who ruled over the palace and the kingdom round it. She took his hand and bade him to sit next to her and asked him his story, how he had gotten there, how he had gotten to a place that not even animals ventured to get near. The prince told his entire story, and the Princess Latifa, responded that it was craziness for him to continue, for certainly he would die in the process. She said, "Stay here with me. Share my throne. I will give you all the riches that you wish for, and if you'd like, we will bring King Quimus and his daughter here and deal with them. In whatever way you would like, I will share everything with you." But the prince let her know that this was not going to happen, that he was committed, had vowed to God that he would not rest until he had accomplished his task. Latifa had wine brought in hopes that once he had drunk a little, he might change his mind. The prince said to Latifa, "It is customary that the host or hostess drinks first." And so she drank the glass that she had poured and poured another one for him. Well, the two of them got on quite beautifully together for a number of days. Prince Almas had agreed that If he was able to accomplish his task, when it was finished, he would come back and marry her by the law. Seeing that there was no way to persuade him in any other direction than the one that he was going in, she at a certain point called her nurse and asked her to bring her a casket. When the casket was brought, she took out something that was within it and, dividing it, gave a half of it to the prince to eat, telling him that it would exhilarate him for his journey. While he was occupied, she took from that same casket a wooden stick that had been fashioned into something that looked very much like a serpent, and saying some words, she hit the Prince Almas, upon the shoulder, a sharp blow. Painful it was, and he called out as he was hit. But as he was hit, he turned a pirouette and became a deer. All my afflictions, he said, are upon me now. My way is lost, he thought to himself. The princess, Latifa, gilded his horns or his antlers, and also encrusted them with jewels, and then tying a kerchief that she had had in her hand around his neck, sent him off into the garden with the other deer. And we'll stop the story there.